Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have Ayana Pilar Fuentes again on my channel. Ayana is an accomplished bikini competitor. She's had multiple success stories with her weight. I'm going to put up some pictures here. She's my friend, close collaborator, and extremely what's the word? Like when you're like very well read on the topic.
Not an expert, but I try to be.
Very close, very close. There's a word. It'll come back. For those of you who don't know my journey, I'll post my transformation picture here. Also, lost 30 pounds and have maintained it. And I talk a lot about how I've managed to do that. In this mini chat, we're going to talk about the power of the carnivore diet in busy schedules, because this is exactly what you're going through right now, Ayana. So share a little bit with us why you have chosen to go back to a carnivore, specifically to be keto adapted right now in this period of life, and why it would be a recommended thing for everybody who's listening to us, especially right now with if you have kids and everything. I mean, I guess it's always busy, but maybe when the summer ends,
Yeah.
it's busier for people. So that's
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. Yes, definitely. I'd be happy to. And I realized this after the first week of back to work. So I've been in education for over 22 years now. And but now I have a new role where I'm outside of the classroom and I'm more of a teacher leader. And I am not an administrator, but I'm coaching teachers. And so I'm
Congrats, by
all
the
of,
way. I already told you that, but this
oh,
is the official congratulations. You deserve
thank you
it.
so much. Thank you so much. So yes, I am on my feet on the go. Like I normally when I'm working get 10,000 steps by the end of the day, easy. But now I'm hitting 12, 15,000 steps like without even thinking about it. Because I am assisting teachers and it's the beginning of the school year and we have a couple of new ones and so they need a lot of hand holding right now. And I'm also over other projects in the school as well. So yeah, there's days where I'm like, ooh, I need to eat lunch, but I don't have time. Or, oh, let me eat something really quick so that I can move on. So I was just thinking the other day, I was talking to my boss and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think I need to go back on carnivore full on, sorry, full on,
Mhm.
because that's when I know I'm in ketosis. And when you're in ketosis, my experience is that I can go hours without eating and it's not forced. It's just intuitive and my body is properly fed, with
Right.
protein and fat. So it's amazing how just one uh item of carbohydrate because I'm very low carb. So it's not like I'm eating a lot, but just that little bit in my diet feeds my hunger.
True.
And I've always known this because even in competing, when I would have my low carb days, because I would be on like, high, low carb rotations, I preferred the low carb days because I wasn't obsessed with food.
Right.
And so, and now I know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is what my plan is because I think it'll just be more conducive for me and my work ethic.
Yeah. I noticed the same thing. 100% agreed that being in ketosis, I feel the calmest, the most productive, the most energetic, and I'm not freaking out that I gotta have a meal because I have, let's say, an interview and then clients, and then I have to, like, even if I get a very busy day, it doesn't matter. Do you test for ketones? Because I like to test. I like
Yeah.
to have this confirmation, like, yes, I wake up, I test a few hours. I mean, now I'm in this phase where I'm doing it. Sometimes I'll stop, but I go in and out of that phase.
Yes. Okay. So I've gone in and out as well. So I have done it recently at the end of summer out of curiosity. So I definitely am curious now that I'll be full carnivore again because I know it will change. Because when I was testing a few weeks ago, I was more just low carb, and I would have a little blip of ketones, right? But it wasn't full on. And what
Mhm.
is the number that we should be looking at to know that we're fully in
Yeah,
ketosis again?
great question. I was actually talking to my client the other day, and she was telling me I'm at zero point 0.3, and she was disappointed by that number because she thought that that wasn't ketosis. But according to the pioneers in ketogenic research, Dr. Stephen Finney and Dr. Jeff Volek, check them out and their foundation, Virta Health, and all the work they're doing. In their books, they talk about zero point 0.3 being the start. So if you're at zero point 0.3, that's slight nutritional ketosis, and that's great. Ideally, you want to be at least at 0.5. So anywhere between 0.5 to 3 millimolar per liter would be the ideal range. But if you're at 0.3, that's fantastic. You're technically in light ketosis, and that works too.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I remember one time I tested, I was 0.2. So I was almost there.
Almost there. Yeah, then that just means
Almost
you're one workout away. See, when you work out, you burn through the last of the glycogen that you have stored in your liver and in your muscles. And so that speeds up entering a deeper state of ketosis, or just wait a
there.
little
Yes.
longer before you have a first meal. That can push you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And another reason why, the main reason is because of work and being effective
Yeah.
and being able to just go throughout my day and get a lot of things done. I know that being in ketosis is like the perfect
Yes.
solution. However, I also now, because of my schedule, when I work out, I don't have time for two-a-days. So I am working out
Exercise.
first thing in the morning. Like I am lifting weights first thing in the morning, and then I get ready for work, head out, and then my day is constant. So I'm not really doing a lot of cardio. However, as I said earlier, my steps have definitely increased without me even trying.
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm only doing one workout.
And
So
then,
that one.
so you're working a longer day than usual. Is that why?
You know what? Let me see. Before 7 to 2, now it's more like 8 to 4 or 5. So
Mm.
it's a tad longer.
Yeah.
But it's different because I don't really have a lot of breaks. It's all the way through.
Yeah.
Whereas before I had more breaks.
Just 1 hour of delay in the afternoon can really affect your motivation and your energy levels for a second workout. This is why I like to do my workouts also in the morning, because then just the day builds up. Everybody wants something from you, whether it's at work or family or some emergency occurred, and almost always something like that's going to happen. It is such a rare occurrence where you'll have a whole, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of seamless, smooth sailing. And I think anybody listening to this can probably agree that if you track, let's say, your diet and how you're sticking to your goals, you will normally see those patterns, how often those things that throw you off balance happen, one night of
Mhm.
poor sleep, some emergency, a vacation, somebody's
Yeah.
birthday. There's so many
Yeah.
things that can push people off track. And it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much to kick you out of that momentum cycle. This is why a lot of entrepreneurs will literally not go on vacation once they're in the flow of things. They will not go on vacation because they understand how fickle momentum is. They'll cancel a flight
Yes.
and they're like, you know what? I'm doing so well right now. This is not a very necessary engagement. Let me cancel it. I think Andy Frisella has
Yeah.
talked about doing that, and
Right.
others.
Keeping that momentum going, as you
Yeah.
say, right? No, I totally, and this is something I picked up on a lot of administrators, leaders in our business of education. They do not eat all day, but it's not like they have an optimal diet, but I hear them talk and they're like, oh yeah, I haven't eaten and I went home and I went to sleep, or oh, I have presentations all day. I'm just going to eat when I'm done, which I get that because when you're on the go to sit
Mm.
and eat, it slows you down, right?
Yes.
However, being in ketosis is much healthier way of doing
Yes.
it.
They might have more metabolic flexibility. There's a genetic component to that. Some people can dip into ketosis a lot easier. And so when they do eat carbs, it doesn't kick them out of ketosis for too long. And so they might dip in out. And I don't know, would you say that they are in shape for the most part or not necessarily?
No,
No? So then
no,
in that case, it's
no.
leptin resistance. And then, or,
Yeah,
you know, like not leptin, I mean, they are leptin resistant, but even with that, leptin is still very high and still suppresses their appetite. If you work with clients who are hundreds of pounds overweight, they usually have almost no hunger, right? They just don't eat for hunger anymore. They're just eating for that dopamine stimulation just to get some, you know, just to feel good, but they could easily fast for a very long period of time. And I've worked with clients like that where they could literally, when I put them on carnivore, they'll have like one steak and it's like, yeah, I'm not hungry, you know, and that's how they lose a lot of weight initially.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Oh yeah, because it's so satiating. So if like I'm just eating protein and fat whatever it is, oh, I go way longer without needing to eat. And the appetite definitely suppresses. So you have to be careful, but
Yeah.
I'm aware of what I need to have at least to be okay. So
Yeah. And another great thing about being in ketosis, actually, that's before we talk about that, before I want to talk about how it doesn't slow down your metabolism. But before we talk about that, let's talk about how the ideal way to measure that would be blood ketones. You don't want to
okay.
use a urine strip, which is usually when I recommend to my clients to test, they will, first thing they'll do, they'll go and they'll get the urine strip, even though I'll tell them blood meter is better, but they'll go and they do that anyway because it's like super cheap, $7, I think, for
Yes.
100 strips. It's not
Hmm.
accurate. It might be accurate a little bit in the first week or two, but very quickly loses its accuracy. And then it's like, well, you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's kicking you out of ketosis. I remember zucchini kicked me out of ketosis.
Oh,
I'm doing
wow.
everything. Yeah, when I would do keto, and I would test, and I knew I was doing everything amazingly perfect. How is it that I'm not in ketosis? And then I realized the only thing that I introduced was zucchini. I was doing zucchini noodles, zoodles,
Oh,
and that kicked me out of
yeah.
ketosis because the stress
Huh.
from being bombarded with the anti-nutrients in plant foods that can lead to cortisol release and stress you out and raise inflammation in the body. All those things can kick you out of ketosis, or in other words, lower the amount of fat burning and the production of those ketones, which is what you're supposed to be running on in ketosis.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So for everybody listening, buy a blood ketone meter. I use ForaCare. There's a lot of brands on the market that you can
Hmm.
use. Um, yeah, I have a shameless plug. I will also link the affiliates so that you can get a discount on the ForaCare device that I use. Did you
Yeah.
say that you're testing? No.
I will be because I'm curious now. So I have Keto Mojo
That's really good too.
and yeah, so my blood sugar is always like in the 70s or 80s. I'm
Mm.
curious if that changes when I'm full carnivore. And then but yes, and then I'll really be curious about the ketones.
Yeah, Keto Mojo is a good one. Precision Extra is also a good brand. Those are like the top brands that I can recommend.
Okay,
All
cool.
right, now that we talked about that, let's talk about how your metabolism is not going to slow down as much, if at all, really, when you are in ketosis. So again, ketosis is when your body switches over its metabolism from burning sugar and carbohydrates as its main energy source and towards breaking down fat, which then turn into ketone bodies, and using fat and ketone bodies as your main energy source. So this is our more natural state of being. Newborns are born in a state of ketosis as long as they're being breastfed. For as long as they're being breastfed, they are in that state of ketosis where they're running on ketones and fat for energy. So you want to mimic that as much as possible because we are healthier that way. And the power of that when you're dieting is that your body, when you've been in ketosis for an extended period of time, your body recognizes how much extra fuel you have on your frame, and it doesn't freak out when you're dieting down because it doesn't even know you're dieting down. So in a lean individual, if you look at somebody and they don't appear to be overweight in any way, shape, or form, they still have 77,000 calories of stored
Wow.
energy in the form of fat on their frame versus only 2,000 calories worth of stored energy in the form of carbohydrates or glycogen, that's stored in glycogen, stored in liver and muscles. So 77,000 calories available energy versus only 2,000 calories of carbohydrate energy. I shouldn't
Wow.
say available energy because let's get that lean person and they've got 77,000 calories of fat versus 2,000 calories of carbs. Those 77,000 calories of fat are not necessarily available to them unless they are in ketosis. And that's the power of training your body to know how to burn fat for fuel. How do you
Got
train it to burn fat for fuel? You eliminate carbs. At least 20 or 25 grams total carbs. That should be like your maximum amount that you consume per day.
total. I love that you said total
Yes, not
because a lot of
we don't
people,
work with net carbs. Yeah. Especially as you get
yeah,
older. That might work if you're 18, 19, you're very young, very insulin sensitive. You might be able to get away with a little bit more carbohydrates, or you might be able to get away with looking at just net carbs, which is total amount of carbs minus grams of fiber and sugar alcohols. I don't recommend that for most people. It's a bad habit, and as you get older, it doesn't work anymore. So
yeah,
just look at total
yeah,
carbs. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you're still doing like the rice and the oatmeal, and so you're not in ketosis and you're on a diet, your body only knows that it's got 2,000 calories stored of energy as in the form of glycogen or stored carbohydrates in muscles and liver. So it's freaking out because now you're dieting down and it
yeah.
only thinks it has this extra cushioning in the form of only 2,000 calories. It's not a lot. So what does it start to do? It starts to slow down the metabolism. And so now you plateau because you think you're in a caloric deficit, but you're really not. And then you have to keep reducing calories, and eventually your body adjusts to those lower calories, and you keep hitting plateaus. And at some
Oh
point,
yeah,
you're eating nothing almost, and you can't lose weight
yeah.
because your metabolism is so slow. So the way out of that, you have two ways. We've already talked about that, right? We did the reverse dieting thing.
Yes,
So you can either
we did.
reverse diet or
Hmm.
you can train your body to burn fat for fuel. In other words, you can just eliminate carbs and go into full-blown ketosis. And that, after a few days of that, you enter in ketosis. You remove carbs. After 2 to 3 days, you're in ketosis. But it's not enough to just be in ketosis. You want to be keto adapted. And that takes like 2 weeks. For some people, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Most people, they become keto adapted after like 2 weeks, but it keeps getting better. You keep becoming more and more and more keto adapted. And some studies up to 2 years after ketosis, you're still keto adapted,
Wow.
becoming better and better at burning calories. Mhm.
Wow.
That's
Okay, I didn't know
again.
that long.
Doctors Finney and Jeff Volek also they did those studies. They did them with athletes. That was an
Yes,
incredible study.
I remember that one. I remember reading that one a while ago and fascinated because I love those two. They are so knowledgeable because I remember God, probably more than a decade ago, watching and reading their work. I bought one of their books too, and also Dr. Westman.
Oh yeah,
Those
he's
three
yeah.
I really dived into because I just love the practicality of it.
hmm
Bolick and Finney are super science, and I'm like, whew, okay. But Westman is just talks to the regular people, and it's like just like your explanation, you made sense. It totally was clear.
Yeah.
And when I listen to him, I get the same thing. It's just honest, basic, you know,
Yeah.
very clear.
Yeah, Dr. Eric Westman. Check out his YouTube channel. I think it's called, I mean, just Google his
I,
name,
yeah,
keto-adaptation.
Adapt Your Life or something.
Oh, Adapt
Yeah.
Your Life, good one, yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Love
he
it.
trained with Dr. Atkins.
Yes.
And and I think he sees clients too. Like he has a regular 9 to 5, unlike us, unlike me, content creator. So even with that, it's great that he still has the time to grow his channel and
Yeah.
share this knowledge to everybody. So yeah.
Definitely.
So that's what I would recommend for most people. Just it's just easier, be in ketosis, allow your body to keto adapt, and that way you don't have to keep going through cycles of reverse dieting. You still might need some reverse dieting because if you introduce cardio to lose weight, eventually you will adapt to that cardio, and you have to keep increasing the intensity of the cardio. And so at some point, you're not gonna run all day long. At that point, you will
Yeah.
have to reverse, back out of that by reducing cardio. But at least the metabolism portion of the total amount of calories that you burn, your
Mhm.
metabolism portion, which is for most people around 1,200, 1,300 calories per day that you would burn no matter what, even if you didn't move a muscle all day long, just to keep you alive, you'd probably be burning around that amount. So
Wow.
those 1,300 calories, they will go back up. And as a matter of fact, in some studies, it shows that the more keto adapted you are, your metabolism starts to speed up again by around 300 calories. There have been studies that show that you'll just burn an extra 300 calories a day just by training your body to access those fuel reserves on your.
Wow.
It's a form of reverse dieting without really having to, track so much.
That is really interesting. I'm
Mhm.
very curious to, you know, see this, test this out on myself for sure. For sure. Because
Yeah,
I'm such a numbers person. So I'm, used to being like, okay, these are my macros,
yeah.
right? And then seeing the difference being keto adapted, like really being like, all right, this is how I was, standard low carb. How is it going to differ
Oh,
with
yeah.
being
Yeah.
fully keto?
I'll always recommend tracking, and I love that you do that. And it's easy. See, that's the thing. It's easy for you because you've established this habit, and it's a simple habit. And if we're doing it with carnivore, I mean, there's what, track one food, maybe two. It's
I know,
right.
right? Because it's like I'm very with animal protein. I'm like, I love chicken thighs, I love ground beef and shredded pork and eggs, so it's super simple. I do love mackerel and sardines. I know some
Mm.
people don't, and I don't do those fast. I just like to eat them. But it's super simple to track that. Really is.
It really is. And it'll tell us what's going on. It'll tell us if you're getting enough protein, what's your macro breakdown, how much fat, how much, like what percent of your calories are coming from fat or from protein. That can give us a lot of information in case you're struggling to enter that state of ketosis.
Yeah.
And so it's easier troubleshooting, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it most definitely will be. And it's like the only thing which you've talked ad nauseum about, it's just not having a relationship with certain foods anymore. So it's never
Right,
about, for me, it's never about executing something. It's about, okay, let me not make room for this or make room for that. It's
right,
it's really
right,
simple and like, okay, you're just eating this right now, so
right.
don't worry about anything else.
Right. The whole purpose of those foods they're just designed to override your normal eating habits. They're
Oh yeah.
designed to play with your head and be like, well, maybe I could fit that in. You see, you're starting to like think, okay, what can I get away with as opposed to like, what is the maximum amount of health foods that I can, ingest, right?
Exactly.
This is like different mindsets because you'll always find excuses and reasons why you can have this protein bar. I remember when I would have protein bars all the time. It was just,
It's
I
just a
think
candy bar
it is a candy bar.
with more
My wake up
protein.
call, what, right? And it's not the same protein. I don't think you get the same appetite suppression or it
Oh
doesn't
no,
give you the same feeling when when you get the protein from protein bars. It's like 20 grams. Like
no,
really, this has 20 grams of protein. It just doesn't feel the same as opposed to getting
it's
it
not.
from real food. Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not the same.
Yeah. I mean, Did you see what I
Yeah.
posted the other day? It was a study on an artificial sweetener that was it
Yes.
erythritol? And it was
I've
yet
seen
another.
all of your posts. I've seen all of your posts on artificial sweeteners.
Sorry, I know.
I sound like, oh gosh, here we go again.
I know. There's
Um,
one coming on stevia. Brace yourself. Yes.
oh my,
There's
well, I'm
actually a
almost
ton of
done with
information on
mine.
stevia. Huh?
I'm almost done with mine. I just probably won't buy another one. But yeah, that is like the biggest thing
Yeah.
because um and I've told you this so many times, and my rebellious nature, I'm just like, no, I'm fine. But it's liquids, it's not food.
Yeah.
I can ditch the food. I can ditch
Yeah.
what we were talking about, protein bars. I can ditch that. I can. I've done it many times.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's the liquids.
Right. And it's okay. It's like one step after the other. The thing is, you need a strong reason. That's all. It's
Yeah.
like, a
No, you're
solid
right.
reason, because the
Yeah.
liquidy sweet stuff, they're really not as addictive because they're not combined with fat. When it's just pure
Oh yeah.
sweetener, it's not the same as when you combine, like let's say sugar-free whipped cream. That is an addiction bomb that goes in your brain because it is the fat plus the sugar, the sweet taste and
Yeah.
the fat mix that's far more problematic because it's very rare that you will find somebody that'll take just packets of sugar and just eat that. I mean, I used to do that actually when I was a kid, but
Oh,
I
really?
wouldn't say you can over binge on pure sugar. Yeah, I would. My
Uh-huh.
dad, in his store, he would always have like next to the coffee, it's like a Turkish coffee because in Lebanon that's what everybody drinks.
Ooh.
So next to the Turkish coffee that they have prepared, they'll have like little bowls of cubed sugar. The cubed. Have you seen those cubed white sugar? Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like,
And it
I'd
was
pop
never
them like candy after school.
really. So that is so funny because you could have a bag of Skittles,
Yeah.
Starburst
Yeah.
next to me.
Me too. Now, me
I
too.
don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never cared about candy. I know some
Me
people do
too.
like I've always liked confection, like cakes,
Right. Those
cookies,
are more addictive.
bread. Yes,
Yeah.
donuts, bread. I'm really after listening to Bitten Janssen one time with you and other people, and
Yeah.
I heard her say something over and over again. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I love sweets, obviously, like chocolate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always been bread
True.
major,
Mm.
and then sweet bread is just off the charts.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow,
I agree. Me
that's
too. And I think a lot of people would also probably notice that you get a greater dopamine hit from those foods because it's just combination of far more addictive things, right? You've got the sugar,
right.
which is addictive. You've got the gluten, which turns into gluteomorphin and activates your opioid receptors, like taking opioid drugs. That's
Like
addictive.
dairy.
Right, like just like dairy. And then you've got dairy in a lot of bakery foods as well.
Yes.
And then they add salt to bring out the flavor. That's addictive. And then the chocolate is
Oh yeah.
addictive. Um, it's funny. I did a whole dissertation on chocolate addiction, and the result was like, yeah, nobody knows why it's really that addictive. It's like, is it the sugar? Is it the we don't know. Uh, that was like the
Oh my
conclusion.
God.
And what else do bakery products
Yeah.
have? The starch, just
Oh
starch
yeah.
in isolation. This the concentrated carb. It's also addictive. So now you combine them, and you've got this
All that
dopamine
fat.
explosion that's happening. Not
Yeah.
recommended.
All the butter and the lard. And
Yes.
so you put all of that
Yeah.
together because people don't realize it's like, I'm not addicted to, or if you don't want to use that word or whatever, to plain baked potato.
True.
Like which is just a
True.
carb. Or I'm not
True.
going to, well, some people, but I'm not going to overdose on a stick of butter or oil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Especially if
Or
it's like sweet cream butter, and you might overdose a little bit when it's salted butter because now you've got like
yes,
the fat and the salt, right? It's
with
always
the
a
salt.
combination. Yeah.
It's always a combination or straight sugar, unless when you were little, but straight sugar, ew.
Yeah.
But it's all of
Yeah.
that together.
Exactly, exactly. The
Oh,
reason this whole thing started because I was mentioning the erythritol and
oh yes,
right, and
yes.
you're like, don't go there. The reason I
I know, I
mentioned it
totally forgot. I'm like, yeah.
It's because as I was preparing, researching the post, and it shows in the post, I talk about all the media, the press around that new study that just came out on this yet another study showing the exact same thing. That
Yeah.
erythritol is simply going to raise a clotting by an astronomical amount, which is a very big risk factor for heart disease. So it's a very alarming findings that we keep getting with the erythritol, which is so commonly found in so many keto treats, if not all of them. And the funny thing is, in the press release, they always have to say, okay, like, what is this organization? They always have to get like the opposing argument, So the Calorie Control Council, Calorie Control Council issued a statement like, oh no, it's been safe, and we've been like this. The totality of evidence shows that it's safe, and don't worry, and always trying to promote this more. Like it's okay to consume those foods, and you can still lose weight and it doesn't matter. And then the first thing I did, I went to their website and checked, just go and see, first of all, see their president, clearly very unhealthy, overweight, actually obese. And then the vice president, and all of them, they're all like RDs, registered dietitians. And then you look at their history, and they are basically funded by, on the website, like it says, like they're funded by the food industry. Like, isn't that a conflict of interest? So, and you can take that calorie
Yeah.
council, you can just put instead the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and it would be the same exact thing. They are funded by the food industry. That's why they
Yeah.
have those jobs.
So let's fit it in.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
this burns
Yeah.
off this if you go right.
Yeah.
And do you really, I mean, I'll never forget when one of the my favorite bikini competitors, Ashley Kotwasser, said this. She was like, if you go and have like a cheeseburger and french fries and a soda, even if it's diet soda, how many calories that is,
Yeah.
right? And if you go and try to burn that off, which is a lot of those calorie companies want you to think like,
Yeah, doesn't work.
You're gonna have to run a marathon.
Yeah.
Literally, people.
Yeah.
Because we're both 5'5", and so
Yeah.
she was talking a 5'5" normal weight person running at a rate of 6.0 speed,
Yeah.
run a half marathon or a
Yeah.
marathon. But with artificial sweeteners, usually those are in things, they're still calorically dense. As what we were mentioning before, that
Yeah.
sweetness is just going to drive you to eat more.
Exactly. And you'll never put the right habits in place, and then very
Yeah.
easily, and we've all, I think, been in that cycle where it's like, oh, I'll just burn this off. And then as long as you keep those addictive foods and you're in denial, it's like, no, it's okay, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's a habit. And then it becomes harder and harder to exit that habit because you're strengthening it every single time you repeat it. And also the extensive cardio is not really even rehabilitating your brain, like I always recommend, right? To raise your baseline dopamine levels. You're not even doing that because you keep destroying it with the addictive foods. And what's happening? You're adapting to this load of cardio. And so you're no longer burning as many calories as you once burned in those cardio sessions. So now, just to maintain your weight, you have to keep doing this high load of cardio. And you're not getting the one positive benefit that you could get, which is raising your baseline dopamine and rehabilitating the brain damage from years of addiction, because you're still in the throes of addiction. So
Yes, so true.
rant's over.
And it would be interesting to get off all artificial sweeteners as well, because and I haven't figured out if it's coffee or if it's that, and or maybe just not being in ketosis, but my knee pain is coming back. I don't know why. I was like lifting yesterday. I was doing deadlifts and then leg press, and I was like, oh, but it's been back, right?
Yeah.
And then headaches. Yes, my job is more intense, but it's not crazy stressful.
Yeah.
It's just intense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, I like looking at this from a perspective of taking things out to see if those things get better is something I'm curious about too.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very commonly aggravated by, like, for me, even a salad that has like onions and olives in it is gonna make me start
Wow.
having headaches. Like for me, the biggest thing about going carnivore is that I don't have headaches anymore. Like you have no idea how much I've struggled with that, you know, and I'd be like tracking, you know, weight training, going 2, 3 hours to the gym and, you know, so happy and all that stuff. And then I would all of a sudden get a headache. And right away, I would go back into this sugar addiction binge, you know, even though I was able to control it when everything was going great. But then I'll get a headache and then I'll go on a binge and undo all of the progress that I had done. Same thing with cramps. I don't get cramps anymore. Again, I know
That's
it's
cool.
because of the carnivore diet. Probably
Yeah.
also, no, you know what? I went through a phase where I didn't do cardio for a while and I still didn't get cramps. So I wouldn't say just the cardio. I would say it's the carnivore diet first and foremost. Although the cardio helps too a little bit, but you
Yeah,
can't do, yeah,
definitely.
it's still
So
powerful. Yeah.
that's what I really wanna test that out. So I wanna see you don't really start seeing changes though in your body and stuff like that until maybe 7, 10 days
In terms of
in terms of you know,
carnivore.
pain, like
Oh,
soreness.
I would say I
Um,
would say like 5 days, maybe. Yeah, it
okay.
depends. It's variable. Of course, the longer the better. Like if you want to try out a carnivore diet, I would say give it at least 30 to 90 days. If you've
Yeah.
had something very, very severe and long lasting, give it 6 months, but that's very rare. Usually within 30 days, almost everybody can find dramatic results, if not
Yeah.
complete cures, you know?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's what I would say, be patient. Are you taking bioidentical hormone therapy? That's
No.
also because that also could like perimenopause, menopausal women,
True.
also men go through the same thing. It's called andropause. So just
Yeah.
restoring the hormones can truly change one's life because what are some of the symptoms of andropause and menopause and perimenopause? It would be insomnia or trouble sleeping, hair falling
Yes.
out, headaches, joint inflammation, pain, swelling, palpitations, you know, all that stuff.
Interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm definitely in that perimenopause era.
Right.
Um, I don't have a lot of symptoms that my friends talk about. Out of what you just said, just the like knee pain and the sleep in the nights, like my sometimes, but not all the time, because a lot of times I have great sleep.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah.
you know, very little, but I know that I'm in that age range.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot because I do get clients sometimes where like they'll have real serious sleep issues, and it's just that it's just that we need to, you know, optimize for their hormones, and all those things will go away. And it's a
yeah,
missed symptom for a lot of people. You know, it's not always just oh stop coffee or whatever. Like it depends on your age as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I finally found a good doctor that I am excited about. So when I see him, I'll ask him about that and and
Cool.
we'll go from there. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
So much for keeping it short. I was like, let's just do 10, 15 minutes and we'll do
Oh my
multiple
gosh.
ones. We can't. Once we start, we don't stop. So I think this is a good place to end it. Where can people find you and work with you? Are you still coaching like right now, especially with the new, you know, school year starting?
Yeah, well, I'm always open to that. Yes. Right now, I am, let's start the school year. That's my focus. However, I am there for anyone who does want help with macro coaching and working out, things like that. And I'm at Pilar Fit Vegas on Instagram and YouTube, and TikTok is Pilar Fit LV.
All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And I will make sure I link them as usual right below this YouTube video so everybody can click on it and get there very quickly. And you guys know where to find me, drzaldivar.com/shop for all my guides. The SUPERBREED Metabolism Guide fits into what we're talking about, but it's the reverse dieting guide, how to speed up your metabolism. I have a new guide, 30-day carnivore diet challenge, where I put all the stuff about the carnivore diet and the step by step, you know, like what are you gonna feel day one, day two, day three as you transition away from any kind of diet you were on before. all that kind of stuff is there. There's a bunch of diets. I think dopamine brain is probably like my bestseller. People love to know how to raise their baseline dopamine levels. And so it's like my brain rehab protocol, which was really the topic of my dissertation. So also that's there. I recommend getting the bundles because the bundles you really can save a lot on like multiple guides at once. And then for
Yeah.
coaching one-on-one, drsarahzaldivar.com/coaching, and you can see all of the packages as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's it for us. Thank you so much, Ayana.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope this was helpful. Give us some comments or some suggestions. What could we talk about in future mini chat
Mini one.
sessions, right? And I always read the comments, I respond, and I definitely take everything that you suggest into consideration. So yeah, and then we'll do similar ones in the future. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.